Hey, what's up, y'all, and welcome to another edition of CMJ World Vlogs. I am August C. Jones, and this isn't talking about anything new or anything that's going on right now, but I do want to kind of touch on, like, I had this like thought in my head, and it's revolving around the reason why a lot of people might turn down the MCU or the DCU or movies like that, because when it comes to these movies, a lot of directors and actors have a lot to say about the state of the movie industry and comic book movies and its place, and whether it's cinema or if it's not, blah blah blah. And it's a lot of actors that turn down these roles, and you would think right off the bat superhero movies are popular. Like, no matter what you think about them, whatever you might think about Phase 4, Phase 5, whatever, throw all that out. You gotta admit that when a comic book movie comes out, people are gonna go see it. If they see 5 movies within that calendar year, like a superhero movie is gonna be at least one of them. So when it comes down to it, you would think that, like, directors, actors would jump at the fucking invitation to even be in one, because it will boost you as far as your I ain't gonna say credibility, but as far as your celebrity, and it'll make you a more sought out director or actor and blah blah blah, writer. And it had me thinking as to the reasons why, because we'll look at it and be like, oh yeah, it'll boost you. Like, if you be in a comic book movie, Robert Downey Jr., before then, he was an actor that nobody really paid attention to, especially people in, like, that don't watch regular movies, that just watch movies like action film, Fast and Furious, Marvel films, and go to the movies for movies like that. It's like nobody had Robert Downey Jr. on their radar of being like an actor that they enjoy, until he got into the role of Iron Man. And it's the same with Chris Pratt, it's the same with Chris Evans, and just anybody that you could think of. I mean, certain other people are kind of outside of that and kind of like an exception to the whole overall thing, but essentially that's what it is. And so with that, you'll be like, somebody will jump at the opportunity to be in that, and I enjoy these movies, and I would love to see a great actor and and everything else. But when you think about it, when you really sit down and think about it, just think about how much it does for them and how much it's a detriment. Because when you look at the MCU, and you look at the actors that have been in the MCU or whatever, and I'm not talking about the one-offs, I'm talking about the ones that's in several franchises, mainly the main stars, the Chris Hemsworths, the Robert Downey Jr.'s, the Scarlett Johanssons of the MCU. When you think about it, you gotta look at, like, what have they done outside the MCU? Because even though it rises their celebrity, it makes them popular, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be successful outside the MCU. And I think, and that's the way that they're looking at it. Because look at it like this: can you think of one big successful movies or franchise that a lot of people have been in? Robert Downey Jr. has been in ever since joining the MCU. And I'm not talking about just him being in the movie or whatever. I'm talking about, like, successful. I mean, like, critically and or audience wise, financially and everything. You're not gonna find too many people that's like that. You're not gonna find too many people. Like, even Tom Holland. Can you name a highly successful movie or franchise that he's a part of right now? What about Anthony Mackie? What about Chris Evans? Even Chris Hemsworth? Like, can you off the bat, think about a highly successful franchise, and I'm not talking about them jumping on the franchise like Chris Hemsworth, who became part of the Men in Black franchise. He technically is a part of the Men in Black franchise, but I'm talking about like a franchise that he's been with at the beginning and it's thriving. Right now, the only person I can think of, and it's probably more, don't get me wrong, it's probably more. The only person I can think of right now is Chris Pratt, who, no matter how you feel about the Jurassic World franchise, you have to look at it as like those movies are bringing in numbers. I believe at least, I think 2 of them was billion-dollar movies. I don't know about Dominion. I haven't checked the numbers on Dominion, but I know that at least 2 of them are in the billion-dollar club. So I count that. And then he's a part of another franchise that's just beginning, Mario Brothers, which is another billion-dollar movie that is going to have a sequel. It's going to have a sequel. And just even on those like merits, even in those credits, you will be hard pressed. And I'm sorry, it's blacking out. It's cloudy outside, and usually I get like better lighting when it's like when the sun is out, but it's cloudy today. So sorry about it being dark. I'm gonna try and do something when I'm like editing, maybe lighten it up a little bit. But in any case, it's hard pressed to look at any other person. You can look at, like I said, Tom Holland. You can look at RDJ. You can look at Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson. What's her name? Elizabeth Olsen. You can look at what's his name? Doctor Strange. I can't even think of his name. Benedict Cumberbatch. You can look at him, and you just knock down all the names just because they're in movies. Like, discredit that. Not discredit that, but just scratch that. Look at the numbers and how successful it was. A lot of them, you'll be hard pressed to even find one movie or show that was extremely popular. And like I said, the other ones ain't really coming to mind, but when you look at the overall, being in the MCU, or just, I'll say the MCU, because you can't really, I don't know if you can look at the DCEU. I mean, I'm talking about James Gunn's movies. But the DCEU so far, from Man of Steel all the way to, I guess you could say, Aquaman so far. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Jason Momoa is kind of doing good for himself, so he's that. Gal Gadot, she's doing good. But I'm mainly looking at the MCU. You'll be hard-pressed to find any actor, or a handful of actors, that's in the franchise for multiple films, not just a James Spader who just was up in Age of Ultron and that's it. I'm talking about like they've been in like 2, 3, 4 MCU films, whether it's their own or they play a supporting character or whatever. You're gonna find it hard to find too many actors that have been in successful and highly just big films, highly successful, financially big films. And I think a lot of actors and directors kind of have a point. I don't like the way they bash it, and I definitely don't agree with 100% of what they're saying, especially when they say their comic book movies aren't cinema. And it's like, come on, really? Like James Cameron is a person that says shit like that, and it's like, bro, you make an Avatar. Like, you're a part of like what it is. Like, you're a part of essentially what it is. Okay, cool. You got a Oscar for the visual effects for Avatar. Great. But essentially, you're adding to what the MCU is doing, which is making franchises, big budgeted, highly publicized franchises that people are going to go to the movies to go see, and not like want to see movies that are kind of like a Martin Scorsese type of film, So, but I agree with the sentiment of them not wanting to do movies like that, because even though it may make them a lot of money, it may put them and they raise their like celebrity higher than what it is. Because like, even though Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, and people like that, and I'm not saying Steven Spielberg was a person that said stuff, but even though you got these directors and actors that may be major names, a lot of times it may just raise their profile a little bit more and just expand their like name to people that don't know them. Like, I literally, it was a while back, I had mentioned the name Steven Spielberg to one of my friends, and you would think, I don't care if you are heavily into movies or you're just a casual movie seeker, movie watcher, you know the name Steven Spielberg, and she didn't even know the name Steven Spielberg. I'm like, what? Like, that blew my mind. But I mean, it just goes to say that, like, if you have a director or actor that does a movie, or that's in a movie, or does a movie that you like, or franchise that you like, blah, 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 you're going to be more in common with their name than you were before. The light is getting a little bit better. Okay, so I'm liking this. But at the same time, it's not guaranteeing you a whole career outside of what you're in. You got people that do movies here and there, but it's nothing like truly major. And I think that's what a lot of people, a lot of actors and directors look at, mainly actors. And it's rightfully so. You gotta look at it like that. It's like, if I'm in the MCU, will that bring me more? Will that make my career better? It will make me more popular, but will I be able to transition outside the MCU and be in other franchises? Whether it is a big action franchise like a Fast and Furious or Jurassic World or Mission Impossible or something like that, or will it just be like little movies that, it had modern success, but it wasn't anything major? So I can see that. I really see that. And I believe that Elizabeth Olsen came out at one point and said that it kind of like did something to her because she is contracted to be in a certain amount of movies and stuff. So when you're contracted, you're kind of, you have to do certain things. You have to keep up a certain image. You have to keep your figure right. You have to do this and do that. And she's then stated that it kind of took her away from other roles that she might have wanted to go to. I mean, if not only just what you have to do while you're contracted with like Disney, Marvel, but it's just the time length. Because if you're a part of like big franchises and projects that this is going to take time away from you doing other things, being in other movies and other type of genres. And I think that's why I say it is kind of a detriment to a lot of actors, because a lot of actors see it like a lot of these other actors aren't transitioning outside of like the MCU to something major. You'll be hard pressed to find a handful of them that are doing something truly successful and big. So I'm just looking at it like it's crazy when you actually sit down to think about it. And like I said, I don't agree with everything Martin Scorsese, what's his name, Steven Dorff, and a lot of other people just want to downgrade superhero movies because they're successful, but they're not completely wrong. They're not 100% wrong, because 100% off the mark. It is something in what they're saying, and maybe it is a problem with Hollywood in that sense, or maybe you could just look at it as like maybe it's the actors and their managers and agents, that they're not finding good roles for their client to be in, that's going to like not only be big franchises, but make them a big name, give them more credibility than just, oh, he's Doctor Strange, or oh, she's just Scarlet Witch, and oh, he's just Captain America. Because eventually, like, if Robert Downey Jr., guarantee you, if he found himself in big movies, Oscar-winning movies, and found a lot of success after that, it wouldn't be really no talks of him coming back to the MCU. But because he's not finding that success that he did in the MCU or even close to it, more than likely he's going to be back as Iron Man. If maybe not for one, or maybe not for like multiple appearances, maybe just one. And same thing with Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson. I mean, because apparently, you know, you can kill off people and they still come back, like Gamora for some reason. You know, even though they addressed it in Guardians, it still wasn't really explained. But in any case, yeah, that was just, it's weird when you look at it. Like, who do you blame? Do you blame the agents? Which a lot of people would think, like, yeah, because, you know, they need to find their client good movies to be in. Or is it just being in the MCU movies? Like, yeah, they're successful, but a lot of directors look at them like, yeah, you can be in those type of movies, but can you be this type of actor to, like, make this movie an Oscar-baited movie? Like, can you do that? So it's a lot of factors, but it is weird, and you know, thinking about it, I've grown to understand why a lot of people, a lot of actors, even though a lot of actors are like Oscar-winning actors, are joining the MCU, whether it's for like one or a few roles, or maybe, you know, joining as a main star like a Brie Larson. But it's like, I can understand why a lot of people don't want anything to do with those movies. Whether it's just, oh yeah, so it's a franchise that, you know, we have to keep the continuity straight. I won't get to be able to have my creative freedoms and liberties that I want to take completely, so I don't want to be restricted. Or it's just, you know, like, what can I do? Yeah, it's going to make me money, it's going to do this, but will I feel successful, or, you know, will I feel fulfilled in making a movie like that, yeah, a lot of people enjoy, and it's kind of stupid fun or whatever, but will I feel fulfilled that I've created something that made an impact? You know, and a lot of people might not think that. A lot of people might think that, like, you know, by us watching Iron Man or Avengers, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun with it, but it's not gonna make an impact. But I mean, we know as comic book movie fans that that's far from the truth. But a lot of people from the outside may look at it as like, yeah, that's not it, because, you know, film is subjective. We look at films differently. I might get something out of a movie that somebody else may not. A certain film may impact me in a certain type of way, make me want to make movies, and it may be stupid to somebody else. So, I mean, they may, like I said, they may look at it like that, like it's not impactful, it doesn't make a difference, and they just don't want anything to do with it. They want to continue to make the dramas or, you know, Oscar baiting type movies, which is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But I totally get it. I totally get it. I don't agree with how they're going about it or how they fully see it, but I can get the little nuggets that they're like talking about. So I don't know. I feel like you would think that it's easy to transition, but it's not. Anything that you might think is easy is easy in thought, but when you put it to play, you're gonna find out how hard it is. So those are just my thoughts on the whole you know, transitioning from comic book movies to other genres and being successful at it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I didn't want this video to be this long, but it ended up being this long. So if you made it this far, thank you for joining me and showing me some love. Show me some support by going ahead and giving me a thumbs up and subscribing if you're not, and hit that notification bell as well. And I will catch you guys later. So peace out, stay safe, and I don't know, try to make a difference outside of the norm. I don't know, I tried.